everyone, Melanie Minshinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new card project that I'm sharing with you with my newest set from Gina K Designs, Fresh Flowers. And I have all these different samples laid out that I did for our Facebook Live release party last week. And I just have them out because I want to show you the variety that you can do with these 6 different flowers and 3 different containers. There's just really infinite possibilities and layouts for them. I do want to turn your attention to some sheets that I've got uploaded in our files section in our Gina K Designs Facebook group for our friends. These are free, and this is just going to give you a lot of different layouts for these different images. Got more than that, but just if you're just using one of the vases and some of the flowers. I'm going to do a card that's a little different from any of these today because I want to incorporate the colors that is in our current challenge that Karen posted this last week. It was really fun and retro, but it's also really fun for fall coming up. I'm going to be using some Gina K inks here, and this was just your own interpretation of the picture on there that she used. I will put a link to that challenge so you can see, but the way that it read on my screen the closest, I chose to use the Gina K Honey Mustard, the Fresh Asparagus, the Tranquil Teal, and then the Coral Reef. So I don't have a cube for every single one, but so I grabbed just that full-size pads and the cubes. You can use either one that you want. I've got the Tidy Towel handy because you want to make sure that these fold stamps are just really free of any little stray bits of lint or hair or dust that I get so often in my craft room, just so that you have a really nice, solid, crisp image. And I'm also going to be using that MISTI, and that is going to help me if I need to stamp it multiple times. As you can see, I've got a piece of cardstock in here already that I have pre-die cut my different pieces that I'm going to be using on this card, and then I'm just saving the negative area around it, and that is going to make it easy for positioning my die cut pieces in there. So I like to put my die set in the back of the pocket so that I can keep these together when I'm working. So I'll point out which dies from that set that we're going to be using. And I thought it would be really fun, since we've got this tall vase that I'm going to use today and these different flowers, to create a mini Slimline card. So I'm also going to be using the new Master Layout 7 die set that is so popular. So we're going to be using the largest pieces for creating layered mats to put on here, and the layout, the format that I'm using for this mini Slimline card is 6 1/4 inches on both sides, so that's a 6 1/4 square, and it is scored at 3 1/8 inches to make this 3 1/8 by 6 1/4 inch card. So I'll show you that in just a second, but I just chose to use the Tranquil Teal. I like to use the inside of those mats. I'm just really thrifty, so if I'm going to cut out multiple pieces, if you're not going to see that, then let's just take that right out of the middle. And then you need a white piece that is going to be big enough for this stitched border. So that is going to be just a little more, about 2 3/4 inches by just under 6 inches. Okay, so we'll go back to these in a second, and then I've got my die cut pieces over here. I've got a scoring board. I just showed you that. I'm going to use a little embellishment on here. I love the little rainbow hearts. I put these in my own little jar, and I've got an Arteza Everblend marker here. This is the 422 Vermilion, and I think it's a really nice match for that Coral Reef, just so that I can custom color one of these little hearts to match that Coral Reef on my stamping. And we're going to just do a couple different techniques on here today. We're going to do some blending. I'm going to wait and see which one of my blending brushes I want to use, because again, I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't decided what color I want to make that tabletop, but this is one of the really nice blending brushes that Gina carries, and it's just really perfect for getting your blends with your inks on your paper. And then I've got some, let's see, I've got, making sure I've got everything here. Some of the Connect glue. You could also use some of the foam squares if you want for building up some layers. Here they are. And then I've got some scratch paper for masking off a little tabletop on my mat. And then you're going to want to have something to die cut your images with. So I pre-cut those, but this is my Cuttlebug that I've had forever, and I use that base plate along with the B and C plate, and then I've got just a piece of cardstock folded for a shim so that I get a nice cut. All right, so I think that's everything that I'm using today. Let's go ahead and get started stamping out these pieces. And I'm going to use some direct to stamp, so that is going to be allowing me to create kind of an ombre effect or a gradient on this vase, as well as just tapping in some color on this smaller flower. So I'm going to use two different flowers today. I am using this image and, ooh, I think I meant to use that image, but I pre-cut that one, so we'll go ahead and use this one. But this tall mat is just going to give me more room to build my arrangement up. And if you haven't made these mini slimline cards before, then I will put one side to side with an A2 so that you can see the difference. It's just a little taller and a little slimmer, hence the name Slimline. I also want to show you, if this image looks kind of familiar, it is the reverse or a bold image of a flower that I have in Beautiful Bees, but just a little bit smaller. So if you have that stamp set and those dies, those can mix and match really well together. So let me show you that real quick. So if you look at this, this is this, just a little bit smaller and bold. So that's really fun to create some different possibilities with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this right here, and I think they hitchhiked onto the back of my magnet set there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I just want to position these different ones right over that negative, and I like to look for a distinctive little bit in my image to help me position it. So there's one here that kind of has a little notch in the petal, so just like that. And then this one is not quite symmetrical, and again I drew these from life, so they are not perfectly symmetrical. Okay, just like that. Oh, and then I also have that little round piece. So that was why I picked one of these flowers, because I wanted you to see how we can layer this round piece or the more realistic piece right over that opening. And if you want to ink up all these ones at different times, you can, and I probably actually will, because I don't want to, I'm going to do that, because take this one off, because I don't want to get any ink from this ombre onto this other flower here. But you can just save time by doing multiple ones at multiple times. Okay, so close that. And I mentioned using this tidy towel, so I'm going to clean this off just really quickly before I ink it up. Oh, and that moved. I'll just do that one in a minute when I do the other flower, since I have to do them both at the same time. Okay, so I want to create an ombre effect on here. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, and I am just going to ink this onto about 2/3. Okay, so I'm going to put that just above the middle to the bottom, and then I'm going to take my green and I'm going to just go up kind of at an angle into that yellow. Okay, let me put that white under there so you'll be able to see just a little bit better. I like to have my craft mat underneath. Okay, and the more that you ink it, the less you're going to see that yellow. So I kind of wanted to make sure I had full coverage. And now I'm going to take the cube, and the cubes are great for doing direct to stamp techniques because you have a lot more control with that little surface. You can kind of see that edge that much better. So I'm just going across just so that it kind of meets up with that yellow. Okay, so, and let's go ahead. I'm going to wait on this one. I'll do that one in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and just close that, press all over. I still don't have a Chucky. I still use my fist to, sorry. Okay, don't do as I say, not as I do. I forgot. I'm in a hurry, and I forgot to put down my vase. That's important. Okay, so let me do this again. That was like a little practice run there. Let's go ahead. I'm going to clean this off just so I don't get any blue All right, so let's do this again. This will be my opportunity if I decide that I want to have more of that yellow showing, because I did quite a bit of that green. Okay, so I'm just kind of going up into that yellow. And this is what I love about bold stamps, being able to just use your pads with precision, or you can use your markers to draw on them, but just to get these different colors just by stamping one time. People that don't stamp are always just so kind of mystified by it and impressed at, you know, how did you do that? How did you get those multiple colors in that image? It's really easy. Okay, so pull it away. Isn't that pretty? And this is a motif actually from my beautiful butterflies set. I just loved it so much, so I repeated it on this vase. So I'm going to pull this off now, and let's go ahead and do our other flowers. So we've got this one and this one. So let me go ahead and do this one real quick. Okay, and I'm just going to pop this one in. Okay. Just like that. And I think I want to make this one just the bright orange, just this coral reef. And that is really going to pop and pull in that coordinating cardstock, that coral reef base that I have. So we will close that and press all over. And lift it up. Beautiful. Okay, and then you can stamp directly into this if you want to put this smaller piece, or we can layer it up with some foam squares. So that's what I want to do. So where is that little round piece that I had? If I can't find it, here we go. All right, so this is going to go right in here. And doing this little negative technique of placing it in that mat is going to help with these smaller images. So I think I want to do this one with the teal. Just to really have some nice contrast. I hope that is still lined up. Make sure it is. Hang on. Right there. Okay. Put that back in. Just want to make sure. I don't want to do it twice again. So, all right. And then that last flower, perfect. And then that last flower that we do, this is going to be where you're doing some more of that direct to stamp technique. And we are going to just add some different colors on there. So I'm going to use that honey mustard, and then I'm going to blend in some of this coral reef. So you always want to start with your lighter colors so that you're not muddying up your pad. So I'm going to go all over this stamp with my yellow. And obviously that fresh asparagus is going to be used for our stems, but you could even put some little bits on there. I love kind of seeing how green peeks through onto petals. So let me put this white under here so you can see what I'm doing. So I am just gently kind of going around the edge of this flower, but then you can also just kind of tap in just some little bits. And you don't want to have just a real defined corner of that cube, so I'm just kind of blurring it a little bit and then just putting it on the edge. So I just kind of rubbed it on gently, not scraping. You don't want to scuff up the where did my little white piece go? Don't want to scuff up the edge of that, the stamping surface of your ink pad or cube. And where did it go? Find that little, there we go. So I'm looking for that one that has a little notch in it right there. And there might be something that stands out to you a little bit more, or you could put a little mark on your die cut if you want. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but okay, so just press right in and lift it up. This is gonna be, ooh, pretty, pretty. Okay. And that's going to fade a little bit as it dries. You'll notice it might look a little bit darker just because you've got coral reef layered onto that honey mustard. So now let's start building our little image here. And it might help you to go ahead and, let's see, where did I? Sorry, I've got so many things on my desk here. It might help to stamp your vase so you know where that's going to go for putting on your stems and your leaves. So I'm going to grab a couple of these out. And the leaves. Let's go ahead also, and I forgot to stamp my high on this little circle. So the Master Layouts has these little layered circles here, the perfect size for that high. I love to take my dies and just go over my stamp sets, and that helps me see what's going to fit in them so I can plan. And I'm just gonna, instead of using the MISTI, I am just gonna grab a block here and just stamp that on there really quick. And you can use the navy, or I'm sorry, the teal or the black. I cut out both just so that you could see how the different colors would look if you wanted a little bit more contrast. So I'm just gonna put that right there. And I really wanted to have a lot of images in this set, so that's why I only put the one greeting, but high works for so much, and then you can add your personalized message or another stamp in there to make it a thank you or a happy birthday. And then we'll just take some of this Connect glue just while I've got it out, and I'm going to layer this on here. And then I always like to put anything that's like a tag or a little die cut greeting up on a foam square. So love how these just feed out. It helps me stay a little bit more organized rather than having to cut off strips and things. So I'm going to set this aside for just a second. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do these stems. So I'm going to do these just with my block as well. And I'm going to have this, I think, right about here. I'm going to go ahead and put this, let's see, show you kind of the proportion here that I'm thinking. Okay, so like that, and like that, and about like that, and then my die cut right about here. Okay, so I want to put these stems right about there. So I'm just going to lay this on here for a minute and see again. I'll show you these together. This is going to give me a lot more room with my, where did I put it? Okay, so here's my green. This is going to give me a lot more room to work with to make those flowers taller. So I'm going to put one like this. And so you've got a stem, two stems that have branches coming out, but then one that's just a curved stem. So these can go either way. Okay, so it's just going to go on just like that. And then let's do some leaves now. And you just want the edge of that leaf touching the edge of your stems. Oh, popped up a little bit. And I've got the 3 different bold leaves in here so that you can have them going off to different directions. 2 of them have kind of a little bend or a little fold in the leaf, and it just makes it that much more realistic looking. And I just nicked the edge of that pad with my fingernails. They're a little bit longer than normal, but that can get covered up by our flowers. Okay. So what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and layer one of these foam squares onto this dot. And see, I love how this is playing off of that pattern in the vase. Okay, so I'm going to put this right on here. And then we're going to put this here. But before I attach that, I want to show you how to make a really cute tabletop. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use the teal, just since that's our darkest color. And I think that's going to look really pretty since we are matting that onto the teal. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to fold this in half because I want to cover up my mat to keep it a little bit cleaner. But I'm going to just cover it up, and I want to have these, the edge of this parallel with this, so that I'm going to have a straight parallel line for my tabletop so it doesn't look wonky, okay? And I am going to rub this blending brush. I've got a couple different blues here, so I'm going to use this one. These can be washed, but I like to keep the colors separate. It just helps me from getting my blending muddy. So I'm just going on here and I'm rubbing onto that ink cube, and then I'm going to go start off of the mat onto this part that's masking it, and just work my way down. But I don't want to go all the way down. I want to have some white on there, okay? And if you want to get a little bit more, just so it's a little bit more defined, remember that's going to be behind the vase and also behind my little greeting, okay? But just enough to give you that suggested tabletop, and that's going to really help to ground our vase. So I'm going to put some foam squares on the back of this. And look, it actually gave us an impression on both sides because I had accidentally stamped onto that foam. So I guess, you know, if you did the same thing I did, check and see which one you like better. That faded look actually looks a lot like pottery. Okay, so I'm peeling off these little pieces. And I'm actually going to wait on this because I kind of want to lay out my flowers here. I want to make sure that I have it the height that I want. Okay, so I'm going to wait on that. So let's just lay these out the way that we want them. I'm going to go ahead and I will layer this onto my teal mat. I'm just using some Connect glue, or you can use the tape runner if you want. It doesn't take a lot of glue. I really like using Connect glue on my mats because that gives me a little bit of room to kind of cheat it over if I kind of fudge it and don't put it exactly on the center of that mat. If I need to move it just a hair, I think it's a little bit easier than if you've used a tape runner. Get it just centered just so, okay? And I want the bigger one in the middle, I mean on the coming at us, coming a little bit forward. So I'm just gonna want to make it look like it's attached to this one. And then before I adhere them, I think I'm gonna have this one built up, but I'm gonna put this one on with the glue. I want to make sure that it's overlapping, but not overlapping too much that it's not going to fit into whatever envelope I use. So I always want to, I like having things going off the mat. It just gives it a lot more, makes it a lot more dynamic looking, but I don't want it to be too big. Okay, so I'm trying to keep it within the bounds of that card. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to just really create a lot of layering here. I think I'm just going to gift this one to somebody in a gift bag, so I'm not going to worry about an envelope. And so in that case, I'm not really worrying about how thick, how fat this card is in terms of postage or whatever. Now you'll want to wait to adhere this up on foam squares if you're stamping your greeting straight onto that, but since I am layering it on with that little tag, I'm just going to do this. Okay, and I want this right about here, I think. So I really like having that going off the edge. I have one of my hairs in there, excuse me. Okay, and then one more. And we can look and see if we'd rather have either way. You could have it overlap. So you just kind of play around with it. I think I'm going to go Let's see. I want to cover up that little boo-boo. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do it like this. And you can see, like I said, this isn't symmetrical, so just turn it how you want. Okay, so I've got that one, and then just do a little glue here. This is just such a happy card. I love this color challenge. I want to thank our Gina K hostesses for doing the challenges and everyone who participates. It really, I think, helps everybody just get out of their box with their color combinations. They just do something really fresh. Isn't that fun? So I didn't really know what I was going to do exactly. I just knew I wanted to use those colors, and you can be sure if a color challenge is posted in our group that it's going to yield a beautiful card. So I would love to know of all these cards that I showed, if you have a favorite or if there's another one that you would like me to demonstrate, or tell me in the comments if there's anything else that you would like to see with this set. There's so many possibilities. I showed that there's so many ways that you can use these vases, not as vases, but as lamp shades, all kinds of uses for them. So anyway, thanks so much for watching today. Please visit my website, Hands, Head, and Heart. It's melodyminchinger.blogspot.com, and visit us at Gina K Designs. And I'm so glad this set is still in stock. I'll be back soon with a new video for you. Thanks so much for watching today, and I will post all of the supplies for this in the description below. God bless. Have a great day.